We're ready to start. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a lot of really great brands joining us, and I also see quite a bit of industry colleagues tuning in as well. We're so excited to dive into China and its ever-growing e-commerce business. Just a quick reminder, this webinar is recorded, and we'll be sharing a link for the recording when it's concluded. And we're going to open up the Q&A function of the webinar, and you can send in your questions throughout the presentation. And towards the end, we'll have a discussion on the questions that are being asked. Before we dive into the actual presentation, I want to do a quick survey here. If you can raise your hands, if you are representing a brand that are currently selling in China in any shape or forms, you can just click that raise hand option on the webinar. Okay, great. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, I see a good amount of you guys are selling in China, and quite a bit of you is probably here wanting to expand to China because who wouldn't want to, right? It's the biggest GMV of the entire globe, and e-commerce is just growing. A little bit more backgrounds on China. The e-commerce space really make up around 50 to 60% of their total GMV. And the user base for online shopping in China had reached 915 millions of 2023. But we have often have heard just recently, about China's economy slowing down, with consumers being more and more price sensitive. Marketing is getting very competitive. And sounds like adapting technology and really having that performance-driven approach is the key to continue any growth in that market. So how does that really look like, and what are the trends of 618, which is the second biggest sales events in China throughout the year, that just concluded about 3 weeks ago, and what tools and strategies Pattern have been utilizing to continue bring growth to our clients. We'll dive into those details into this webinar. I know I've been talking a lot and I haven't actually done introduction of myself. So my name is Nancy Lewis and I represent brand sales team for Pattern China. I work with brands from all over the world who are looking to have growth in China. A bit more about my background. I spent my entire career sort of acting as the bridge for brands and partners to accelerate and truly win in the APAC and the Western world. And I work in brand and integrated marketing for the past 7 years, representing many brands for their global activations. And Jackie is my co-host. She's my colleague, and she's the category lead of China Accelerations and Pattern. She's responsible for all the consumer packaging good related sectors, with over 15 years of experience in e-commerce. She specialized in cross-border to China, with extensive knowledge of go-to-market strategy, operations, and she is also an ex-Alibaba, responsible for a team of BDs to educate the North America market of knowledge of how to engaging with China via cross-border e-commerce. So I'll have Jackie take the lead. Jackie, thank you so much. And we'll start the presentation right now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your time today. I think we're gonna quickly just go over that what we're gonna go over today, and just like Nancy mentioned, we're gonna quickly just diving, starting from the slides that talking about the global markets, and then going to the China, and then we're gonna talk about some strategies, some tools, and some implementations of a different kind of the stuff that we utilized to actually emphasizing the second largest of the events that just happened last month in China as well. That's what we call Juneteenth. So let's dive into the slides currently right here. That we all know that e-commerce is a thing, it is growing, and it may not be the majority of your brand's business, but in most cases, it's probably now sizable and experiencing stronger year-over-year growth than your brick and mortar in many developed or even developing countries. So it is important to understand where the online business is coming from and whether it's from social media, email, D2C website of yours, the brand pages, and lots of the different kind of formats that nowadays that it's running, in the crazy world. But of course, the inevitable marketplace in the world, and there is a reason why we have painted the marketplace is so irresistible. Here's the reason why. Because it has made up over 35% as the chart showing that for the overall e-commerce landscape, and depends on which category of your industry is, it may be even much more. Given there's been so many different consumer demands, industry and environment changes after the world, been through a couple of the years of pandemic life, there are some of the changes to the global marketplaces situations as well. But China seems still in its leading position after all. So on the next page, we're going to talk about the China and overall seeing that, hey, what is the China overall looking like and how long that they've been, why we're calling the biggest e-commerce market in the world. So China has been the largest e-commerce market for the past 11 years since 2013. It's crazy, and then also in 2021, just like Nancy mentioned earlier, China's e-commerce market reached 1.5 trillion in revenue and accounting for over 50% of global e-commerce transactions and more than 50% of the country's retail sales. This was actually the first time in history that majority of the country's retail sales were actually conducted online. So means that the infrastructures, in the past 11 years in China, everything is just very well done and nicely, neatly, and so convenient for the consumers to actually conducting the transactions or purchasing online. And as of until last year, 2023, China still retained the global e-commerce regarding, regardless about like what people are saying about China, their global e-commerce, still growing 12% year over year. So the Chinese e-commerce market will continue to grow, supported by increasing consumer preference for online shopping, improving payment infrastructures like we mentioned before, and proliferations of payment tools. The e-commerce market is expected to grow at a robust CAGR of 11.6% between 2023 and 2027 to reach 3.4 trillion by then. And the next one that we're going to show you, the crazy planets that you can see we actually listed out, the global marketplaces on this chart to list it out as the crazy planets as the first top 10. And as listed the global marketplace representative in rank of total GMV in 2023. So internationally, there are a few major players that own the majority of the marketplaces space. And that should give us a start thinking about, hey, when you and your brand partners are about to have, getting to the international market, who and what you should know about how they operate it and what's the next steps to consider. Maybe you're already there then, but what is the next steps? Yeah, who you should be engaging with, or if there is any other untapped channels that you haven't actually engaging with. So for example, in 2023, only the top two marketplaces, the Alibaba, and also Amazon remain in the same spots as you can see right here, given their ecosystem infrastructure that's built up and naturally supported, for their retail consumer business to create a type of the shopping behavior that is leading the convenience to the shoppers when it comes to payments, recommendations, deliveries, and even customer services. But if we're looking at the top third player in this chart from last year, we can see that Pinduoduo, which later we will call it as a PDD, that will have, actually takes the place, that's actually been taking the place and positions from JD.com with their 590 billion revenue last year. And there are also a new player called Douyin, whose 3P online shops also helped generate 274 billion revenue in 2023. Which being said, they both surpass, Shopify, Walmart Online, even eBay already. So who are they? I think, simplifying saying that Pinduoduo is probably known as, they're the China Temu. And then Douyin, basically, they're the China TikTok. But, regardless, they actually happen in China prior than, Temu and TikTok in North America. So that's who they are in China. That gives actually 4 out of 10 top marketplaces are from China, and of their 2023 GMV combined is about 2.5 trillion USD. which comparing with North America's marketplaces list here combined, which is 1.29 trillion, it's almost like a double of the volume, from China versus North America market. So we will be diving into who these four major China e-commerce players are and some interesting strategy they've utilized this year, along with other social media content platforms. They are absolutely inevitable to utilize, and they're so different. They're actually serving for different purposes at a different time for your brand's development in China. And let's dive in. So, first of all, we actually categorized, the different important marketplaces into three major categories. So I think that this is actually better to illustrating and also identify if you are on this type of the channel already, then when you should be on this channel, if there's any of the untapped channels that you are not aware of. So the first type of the shelf-oriented with mainly heavily running with promotional and target marketing strategy to send the call out to the targeted shoppers from the various of their infrastructures like Tmall, JD, Pinduoduo, such as the pop-up messages on the phones, the SMS, emails, favorite stores that the consumers, shoppers, used to save or shop at from, and or simply using the lowest pricing strategy as what the PDD has been penetrating to the rural area to promote for their group purchase. So what is a group purchase? Which means that the more people around you that you order, you and your neighbors that from this area, that you guys order the same thing as a group, and the PDD will give that group of shoppers the lowest price than if we actually made our purchase individually separately. And these marketplaces are mainly for more mature brands to convert for higher volume transaction. Very often includes backend online authorized B2B redistributions as well. So that's the first kind that is listed right here, shelf-oriented. And the second one is also the very trendy, most interesting ones as a hype, or not, it's actually the mainstream, getting into the mainstream right now, which is we like to call the content marketplaces. And it's simply just as what everyone understands that they're aware all the bloggers, vloggers, influencers, and even celebrities, in China's or not in China, even Kim Kardashians are using, TikTok. And then I think Selena Gomez is on the Little Reds and, have her own accounts as well. And they're using that to record their daily lives, funny videos, with or without brand content to share with others, to share with basically all the public consumers. And one fun fact about these apps, there are lots of users are from global wide, and which makes their contents and products on the apps even more internationally appealing. And there's one journal post and there's also short video kinds are often to be utilized to activate and seeding for the brands and products in the first stage of incubation in China. So this is what, the content oriented that Douyin probably not good for the seeding, but Little Reds and also Kuaishou, probably will be a more suitable ones that if you want to activate your newly launched in China, that's where, people will start seeking for and discovery for the new products and new brands. And the last but not least, it's also probably not very familiar, for the brand partners, the O2O type of the market players who have helped to bring the online traffic like Meituan, JD immediate deliveries, and also the Tmall supermarket. They also there are the O2O services and also facilitators that who has helped to bring the online traffic onto offline business. So and or vice versa. So for example, such as if the influencer can broadcast for one offline shops listed on this O2O app applications, and they could be able to bring their followers, fans to the offline stores by promoting this type of the offline stores or contents for them. Or some offline pop-ups and affiliations could also facilitate the display shelves or showrooms for online transaction over via orders via QR code. So which means that will ship from online store to save the self-transportation hazard. And lots of the supermarkets that in China and cafes, restaurants and department stores are all pre-selling. So their gift cards, coupons, and services ahead online for their later offline in-store redemption. That's how the O2O actually, participating and very mature in China as well. And in the recent years, there are lots of the cross-platforms collaborations that bring the conversions and traffic together, such as many people will also utilize the content or social commerce medias and platforms like Douyin, Little Reds to implementing O2O services as well. So we want to also dive in a little bit more about how and those content marketing and also content-oriented marketplaces has been doing. So before setting some strategies to promote your brands and products on these content marketplaces, first is to understand their nature of business, where and how they're able to assist brands to capture consumers' attention and create brand awareness and loyalties. And this year, not only Douyin or Yantao from Alibaba, which is Taobao's live streaming, is running live streaming, but the Little Red, the app is known for shoppers journal apps, also participating heavily, subsidizing heavily in the live streaming battlefield to capture the traffic for the just-in-time, ROI convergence. And what's actually happened to Kuaishou, that's actually a very interesting nuances here that I would like to share today, is that because Kuaishou is a slightly different format, from the live streaming, they're actually known for the short video platform. And naturally, they inherited much more of the short videos added from these live streamers and has helped the payments users on Kuaishou grew 59% year over year. And that also, of course, generated more of the GMVs from the short video that year over year grew 76%. And so because of many live streamers have been generating almost every marketplace's players and Kuaishou's short videos and also in June 18, it lasts longer than any other platforms, during the time they actually promote, their June 18's promotions for 42 days. Because naturally they inherit people's after live streaming, so they prolong this type of the promotions, for example. And because we also mentioned, because Little Red also heavily promote the live streaming, so from their bloggers videos, their first day of the June 18 event, they also increased their GMV by 7.4%, 7.4 bigger than before, and then also generated and have more of the more than 100 influencers and broke averagely 143,000 USD during their live streaming as well, which is actually very good for the sizes of the Little Red, since they're actually very journal kinds of the apps in the beginning with. So for this year's the nationwide, June promotions, Douyin actually input over, I think it's not just Douyin, I think, overall, all the major platforms that we mentioned, they subsidize all different $1 billion, hundreds of the billions of dollars actually to subsidize, to help the people to convert and helping them to subsidize the purchases. So in Douyin's cases, they actually input 10 billion traffic volume to achieve over 1.36 billion USD in the midway of the promotion period from just 297 live streams. And that equals to each live stream GMV about like 4.58 million USD per stream. And that is almost like 4 times higher than what our first 1 million TikTok, live streaming just happened a couple weeks ago. I think everybody's probably seen that on the news. And Douyin is also known for their personal care category in around 28.2%, groceries, healthcare, supplements, even though healthcare and the supplements only tailored for 4.5%, but it is $1 billion of dollars, I mean, hundreds of the $1 billion of the business that we're talking about, 4.5%, which is still inevitable. And they're actually still growing as well, which is also one of the categories and showcases we would like to discuss a little more in the later page. So according to study, China's health supplements consumption is only 20% of the US. So for both of the nutrition and healthcare industry is still in its primary stage of development. However, the beauty health intake supplements is actually a quite interesting subcategory that actually just mentioning or happens in North America. It has been exist in China since a long, long time ago, such as the snow mushroom, dates, and even the edible bird nest. It's crazy, but yeah, Chinese also eat bird nest, are some well-known plant-based beauty food that they can be able to provide the gelatins and also help increasing blood circulations that helps to get a tighter, brighten skin tones and with more of the natural, blush. And which is also one of the strong reasons behind the current rapid trend out for this the beauty function supplements. So when we're seeing a little bit more of the next page, based from the study, the overall health supplements wellness category is all uptrend that in China, ranging from regular vitamins still keeping going up 24% to special function as digestive probiotic, up to 40%. Fish oil is probably one of the highest growing rates, 45%, because the regulations of the fish oil ingredients, krill oil, are more strict. So, which being said, the more of the restriction is, the harder to get, the more of the consumptions that people would really want to just, to take in. And of course, the calcium, the glucosamines, and also protein powders are all they're 20% up. One thing is special sitting in between the health supplements and the beauty category is the oral function beauty subcategory. That is enhancing the beauties from inside out with the specific functions, as we mentioned before. It's part of the, I would say, as skinifications that in the whole process, as we've mentioned earlier. The function can range from brightening the dark spot, anti-wrinkles, to prevent hair loss or of the rising directions, especially on social media and content. Yeah, and we're gonna answer the questions later. So that can be type of the thinking of the brands operating, like, thinking outside of the box, because if it is actually the second largest, the second batch and tiers of the growth rates, that's actually hitting at 32%, that the target audience probably is the new target audience that giving the, it's overlapping between the health supplements industry and versus beauty buying crowd. That can be type of the thinking of brands operation to think outside the box. If you are running the promotions and activations, targeting this group of the people that's probably never buy the supplements before, but now they're ready for it, the industry. So yeah, so we've actually talked a little bit more about, the situations of the global markets. Now we want to also dive into what is actually going on in China, what is actually needed for China e-commerce to make it work, to achieve that, to be participating with 32% of the growth, to 45% of the fish oil growth, and also on so on from there. So after seeing all the uptrending numbers in China, as the marketers, we need to start thinking about where the revenue is coming from, the simple formula that we listed out right here: traffic, conversion, price, availability. Of course, that's like not rocket science. That equals to how much you're gonna make as the sales. But when we're talking about the traffic, where do you find the right audience and consumer to bring them onto your channels to shop and identify who they are is also the key. So we included, some of the key traffic generators, which is from the marketplace advertisements, that's sponsoring and supporting for the product brand video pages, marketing, and also including marketing SEO. Have you actually optimizing your product SEO, SEM internally, right, on your marketplaces chapters? Increasing consumer reviews. Did you get your brands and also the product get the platform badges? It's like a platform endorsements. Do you have the data algorithm reports? Do you get the keyword research reports, ranking analysis, review analysis, and insights, etc.? And of course, of the marketplace, as you mentioned, is also very one of the popular important things, because you can't just totally rely on the marketplaces you're on. You need to go find more of the leads and the traffic to bring onto the channels you're selling as well from outside. So there are, many of the 3P players, third-party infrastructures that support the marketplaces, such as Baidu Ads, KOL, KOC connections, Are you in contact with any of the private multi-level marketing groups as a part of a B2B redistribution part of your network as well? So lots of different kind of the social media or even geographic mobile tabbing, to know where your consumers are at, are all very interesting things that you probably want to dive in a little more. And of course, you bring the traffic. Now we want to talk about how you're going to convert those interesting and more suitable traffic into your purchase consumers and users. So if the contents and descriptions are clear enough, which being said, for them to make the purchase, I understand, I come in and the contents just hit the spot right away, then I know exactly what we're purchasing from. And of course, if the price is right, I'm just gonna go ahead and place order. So how much the products are match made to the traffic that coming in are the key for the conversions as well, which means regional specific creative services is needed for high quality content, high quality videos. And then if you have the AI content producing ability, is also one of the key and trendy things that's actually going on in the world. Customer experiences is also very unique in China as well. So most of the time, in China's consumer shopping behavior, you were not only just interacting with them during the purchasing while they're actually shopping, adding to the cart, but you also follow up, tailor to their question, interact with them in the real time to actually persuading them into checkout, as the process. And you also follow up with them, doing the membership management for the brand online store as well. And of course, we're talking about, revenue, the dollar amounts, how much we're paying, how much the consumers are paying. If I'm paying too high, too low, are also one of the consumers' concern. So I would say both of the pricing and also availability, that's what we're going to conclude it as the brand control. If the price of the brand or the products in the market is consistent enough to prevent the shoppers to shop around, delaying the transactions from happening, which is going to be a very essential work. I think, whether you're mature or you're pre-developed, or I think it's more of the mature brands that's basically the homework that everybody wants to dive in, right? Do I really want to do heavy discount? Do I really want to do heavy promotions? Do we want people to just, stock up my products during the June 18 only and then not buying during any other time? So these type of the brand authorization, unauthorized sellers, identifications, brand control is very important, for the brands, in terms of generating conversion to the revenue. But if the global map policy is in place to prevent parallel markets from one region's retail price that can sabotage the other country's wholesale price, then everybody would just stay at their own place and shop. So basically, this formula, like we mentioned it before, it's not rocket science, but I think it's very hard, and you need a type of the professional experts to help you to really guard the market, set the global expectations right, and also making sure that if your forecast is at the right amount, if your forecast of the inventory is at the right amount, or in the right amount, in the right amount of the time, and if the PO size is correct, good enough for the next upcoming promotions, and if the logistics services is reliable, you don't want to order something and then you got delayed, the ship got lost or the cartons got robbed in the middle of the transactions, right? Or deliveries. So the product compliances are checked, and if the ingredients are the whitelist to prevent later on saying that you may experience some kind of those things that saying that, hey, I've actually input lots of the marketing dollar fundings to promote this one or the other products, and all of a sudden the platform or marketplace is telling us that, hey, one of your ingredients in your products is not on our white cross-border list, then we have to delist your products, which means that you're gonna lost, all the marketing investments that's been pumping up into the water. So in the next 2 pages, I want to emphasizing a few more things. And then before we dive into, the June 18 topic. So among all the mechanisms that are required for operating marketplaces in China, AI is definitely the newest and most trendy things that everyone in the world is talking about. And China cannot be exception. In fact, not only Alibaba, but China has been studying AI and implementing AI technology onto beauty and fashion categories in retail for a long time. And starting from the year of 2018, that's when I actually, went to China as a second time, for Alibaba. And to the Alibaba campus, they've already started demonstrating the color of the lipsticks, to Tmall product link for brand store to utilize and for their consumers to try it out. So within the years, the AI technology in China is also maturing from product content creations to KOL and influencers video creations. And the platform also provides the tools to help brands to use AI for target audience optimization, finding more accurate keywords, search historical data for DSP ads and generations, brand zone banners, et cetera, et cetera. So not only Alibaba is doing that, I'm sure that many other different major platforms are all having the equivalent or similar tools that in regards about AI, whether it's, search engine keywords or more geared toward to the content creations. That AI assistance is actually to help identify more accurate, target traffic for higher and faster conversions rate, achieving for more effective sales. So we will also leverage scale of the brand's business to collect all separate walled gardens of digital spend, and then use our own AI-enabled tools to holistically drive efficiency and also effectiveness for our top line and bottom line for our brand partners. And to grow omni-channels, we also conducted brand marketing to establish equality and credibility. It may not be shown here, but such as the collaborations we've actually working with is that, we work with the industry ecosystem influencers like pharmacists and nutritionists, influencer for health supplements category. And then we also work with hairstylists and also salons for hair care products and personal care products, and estheticians in the spa, industry for skincare products and personal care as well. So, which being said, our network is not only just lining up to aiming for the one-stop sales, to catch us off, with the KOL for one time or a big celebrity for one-time sales. But what we're really to do is that we're prolonging the long-term and profiles business is what we believe. The seeding activations and create the brand image and the loyalty build up from this type of the ecosystem is more healthier to actually prolong your game, with the brand partners. The next things that we're jumping into is actually one of the examples that we recently discovered. And I would like to show this as one of the very important examples that how the gray markets or apparel markets actually happened if you don't have a global map implementations. So this is the demonstration example that we're showing is that when we're on Amazon, this XYZ brand is actually selling for 1418, which is around like 98 yuan RMB in China, for China. So, but when on the other three pages that on the right, it's actually selling in both of the China and also Korea at a totally completely different type of the pricing. So in China, they're selling about like 300 RMB versus the same products is actually selling on Amazon for 1418. It's like less than $100 RMB. So if I'm the consumers, so why do we want to just paying 3 times or 2 times more for a bottle of the vitamin when I can already like asking my relatives or ordering cross borders online from America, or that's for lots of the smarter business kind of the oriented people, they also, that's how they be able to cost the smuggling markets, and that's what we call the gray markets in the apparel. So to countries like that, this is where we want to be able to show you why the brand control is so important, and then having the global map strategy and implementing that, executing in the right place is also very important. So how do we do that? There are actually 4 steps that we call as an e-control process. We strategizing it. We actually doing the foundations, pre-legal consultations, and also seller authorizations. We double check if they are from authorized sellers, and then we execute it in the enforcement of working with the platforms. So those four different kind of the steps and strategies basically is to protect your brand image, and also the brand loyalties, and also the IP positions that in China as well. So from a strategy perspective, if you can be able to identify the IP portfolio assessments, if the experts can help you to situate it, analysis, align online, offline distribution situations, and to the later of the stage, how they're going to be able to design the program that based on the studies and also the discovery findouts. From the seller authorizations, patent also work with the legal team to identify priority disruptive sellers on key online channels to brand with worries in RMP, qualifications and prioritizations, review, monitoring, and seller database as well. And the last one will be, okay, once we have the program, once we know who you guys are, who is authorized, who is unauthorized, then investigate and identify seller source of the gray market, enforce against authorized and unauthorized sellers to diversion diagnosis, and also working with the platforms and marketplaces to remove the unauthorized and counterfeit, and also implementing, of course, the pricing map enforcement as well. So those ones, that above are basically, I'm just like probably talking a little bit quick, but I just want to show for that what is actually interesting, what is going on in the world, and what is going on in China, and what are the trendy things that are actually changing, what has to be done to protect your brands as well. So if there's any questions there, raise your hand or bring the questions, or else we're going to jump to June 18th. Great. Yeah, so June 18th. It is actually a very exciting event that Pattern and actually share, with the industry. What is June 18th? So some of you may know, some of you may not know. June 18th is actually the second largest promotional event, right, sitting after or next to the Double 11, which is going to happen in November 11th or during that time frame. And it is the nationwide all-channel promotions. It used to be Alibaba's, semi-annual year promotions, but now it's all channels because everybody, can't just for example, like Walmart cannot just let Amazon's Prime Day just run it by itself. Everybody gonna participate in. And what is actually meaning for the June 18th? June 18th, usually when they're running for it, they're also, the brands and also platform will also using the data that generated from the June 18th to be the forecast as of the preparations for the Double 11 as well. So it is kind of like, the test running and to see how the economy goes, how the traffic goes, if your plan works, if your product working, if your pricing works or not. So lots of the, the partners and also marketplaces working together to fully utilize June 18 as the forecast planning for the Double 11. So what's actually been interesting this year, some of the few things actually been changing this June 18 versus all the June 18s before, such as Alibaba, usually they have pre-sales. Everybody has a pre-sales, means that you can place an order, but you can never be able to check out this order until the June 18 that day. So the entire channel actually just get rid of, they cancel off the pre-sales. They just dive right in, going straight to spot sales and integrating Taobao, Tmall merchants for unified promotions. So all the platform also subsidize, hundreds of $billions, like we mentioned before, to encourage the sales. And I've heard a brand complained, just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe just last week, saying that, well, it's a happy complaint, right? So because of the platforms are subsidizing, for their checkout for their sales actually booming very well. But they're not happy because, it actually sort of discounting on their products, even though it's not, from their pocket. All the major platforms also created a comprehensive ecosystem, which means they all have their own content, social media platform to drive traffic. to the Ali. Let's say, for example, Ali is using their own live streaming drive traffic for Taobao, Tmall, which it's their e-commerce marketplaces, and they're supported by AIPL and Deep Link, those type of the data management company. And JD is using their WeChat to drive the traffic to their 1P stores and powered by their own data management as A1 to A4 deep learning. And Douyin is using Douyin's live streaming, of course, to direct traffic to Douyin's shopping mall and supported by Ocean Engine. And Little Red is powered by AIPs. So those are the interesting things that resulting all differently because the different collaborations and different type of the management also helping the ecosystem to grow stronger than ever. And of course, the AI generations of the content also helping, Tmall, JD, PDD, and even Little Reds, and also Douyin to increase their sales and merchants more than 50%. And year over year, even Tmall, Taobao actually grow 100%. And which is actually very crazy because June 18 has been running, I believe, at least for more than 10 years. And pre-sale has always been in the place. And then AI was actually never in, but with also, all different kind of the things combined. Lots of the things are changing because of the live streaming, because of the content marketing has kicking in. So the next page I want to talk about, because in the live streaming, everybody start talking about, hey, how many of the KOLs that we actually pay, how much that we actually pay the KOLs, how many of the KOCs that we actually hire for running the live streaming, and why do we have to do that? Why do we have to keep on the live streaming going? And are you actually doing any of your brand live streaming than just hiring the KOLs and then running the live streaming on their channel? So this year, a platform actually encouraged, lots of the brand stores to run the brand store live streaming on the store by yourself instead of heavily investing on KOCs. And the reason why is because platform created a marketing IP to benefit the business that you can be able to have a stronger relationship and also easier findings that to participate if you are in that IP related category zones. And brand president, they also, wanted you to actually invite the brand presidents or the executives to show up at the live streaming. That gives the consumer lots more of the confidence, knowing that, oh, it is actually the real brands that their chief officers is talking to us, and their chief officer is actually endorsing it. We know it's a real brand. It's not just, random brands that coming out from nowhere. So on Douyin, we also seen lots of mid-tier KOLs starting, showing their opportunity to shine. So decentralizing the top KOLs and the thrive onto the brands is probably the next going forward strategy that as a brand or brand partners, you want to start thinking about if, we want to be continuously hiring the KOL, chasing for the huge sales, or we really want to pivot and making sure that we're creating your own brand fans that for your store. And another thing that's actually very interesting, and it's going to be a trend that's slightly, I don't want to say slightly taking over, but it's also another different trend that short drama video also gradually become a new content marketing trend in China. So yeah, really quick. This is a simple mechanism and diagram that we also want to show that not only the data is being supporting, to all the different kind of streaming, but next page, please. They also created lots of different kind of the collaborations between, let's say, for example, on the right-hand side, the platform e-commerce, Taobao and JD, they co-collaborated, they promoted, JD actually allowed Taobao and also Tmall to promote their live streaming channels on the WeChat as well. So WeChat belongs to JD and Tencent, and Taobao is Alibaba. So basically this year, starting from this year, they collaborated, retested, re-promoted, helping each other, promoting their live streaming. So co-branding, co-collaborations, also sharing of the data is actually the trendings in 2024 this year as well. So maybe Nancy can also chime in a little bit, giving her background. She's more familiar with how those, things going on there.
Yes, so I've been in the integrated marketing world for the past 7 years, and to make sure that you have sort of an omni-channel strategy and all the content that you create on different channels follow the same brand message and can be reutilized as content, as seeding, as post afterwards, to continue that return on that investment is crucial. We don't want to look at live stream as, sort of just one thing, and live stream is done and you see the sales come in and that's it. There's so much you can utilize from that content and really adopt it to many different platforms. And that's another beauty of partnering with an agency that has that relationship with those platforms to understand their algorithm, understand how they prioritize marketing content, and really feed into that. So that's something that we later on we have a case study we can talk about, just how Pattern truly looking at all the marketplace in China and sort of utilizing the content that we create and maximizing the returns from that investment. We can go to the next page. Great. So yeah, thank you, Jackie, for giving us so much insight into 618 and China overall. Yeah, I do want to bring the focus back onto Pattern a bit, just showcase some real life examples of how we help one of our brand, which is Swanson, to achieve amazing results during the 618 sales cycle. So in this 618, what we have heard from quite a bit of brands, just in conversations, is it's very hard to do marketing. Marketing is getting very competitive. The numbers, right? The dollars amounts that you have to invest is pretty crazy if you have quite a bit of competitors in the space. So one thing that we do is we look at sort of the industry trend, where a product truly fits in that market, and figure out which SKUs and which product we want to bring spotlight to, and really build strategies based on that kind of overall thinking. And live stream, just like Jackie mentioned, is sort of in the core of all the promotions on our platform. And for Swanson, what we did is in this short amount of promotion period, we conducted about 63 live streams during 618, and that's average about 2 to 3 live streams per day. And each live stream can run sometimes 3 to 4 hours, sometimes even longer. And the reason we do that is we want to have continuous live streams that help the customers to just receive that message over and over again, and make sure they understand the promotion. Because for some platforms, the promotion can get a little bit tricky to figure out, and this brands benefit and to educate the customers of how to use the promotion and truly understand the product's highlight. With this strategy, with the live streams that we conducted, Pattern has the capability to turn that content into short form videos, into post, and then we push that out to different platforms based on where the audience are at, in a timely fashion. And we want to make sure this is conducted in a very quick turnaround. Anything that you wait sometimes more than a day, the content becoming irrelevant. So this is something that require a team to go behind it and make sure the asset looks right, match brand's message, and make sure it captures all the important highlights. And then I think someone asked a question which we'll address in more detail later on. How does that, why is seeding so important, right? And why do we do seeding? And that is because more of the content being posted on different platforms that actually help the marketplace's AI to re-educate their algorithm, and based on how many hashtags and keywords and the days of those hashtags and keywords show up, the algorithm change, and that will really push a brand to the front of their audience. And that's something that we wouldn't call it trick the algorithm. We just want to play smarter and understand which keyword works, what type of seeding works. And that's all part of the strategy to optimize marketing dollars. If we go to the next slide, this is something I would say is contributing quite a bit of success to the conversions of Swanson's product. Is when we're working with the platforms, we have dedicated team to manage those relationships with different categories leads from those marketplace. It is very important to understand the offerings, the advertising offerings. For example, on this slide, you can see during 618, we have our products on several page, and some are organic, right? We're on the top one fillet list on Tmall, and that is an organic thing. They rank their products. And then there's other things, it's more of a partnership with the platform of figuring out, okay, where we can be on that list, which list does make sense for us to be. So we are on the top one list on Tmall. We're on top one new product list for vitamin D3. And then on JD, we're on the top 3 list for prenatal vitamins. And again, the store is on JD's top 27 list. And I think I didn't mention this number earlier, but on Tmall, we were on top 100 out of 3,000 vitamin stores. And this required time and require a lot of really digging into the numbers, which is what Pattern is obsessed with. Because fundamentally, we don't like to do marketing based on emotions. We want to look at all the offerings and then truly understand what the return is and what the trend is. And that's where a lot of that sort of lays in our communication with the marketplace. For example, getting on a top ranking list, in our opinion, bring back the best conversions for 618. But it doesn't really mean you have to be on all the lists, right? So that requires years of data that Pattern generated to figure out which one makes sense. If we go to the next slide, just on more of a micro level, I want to look at performance overall, right? So I mentioned in our conversation with many brands, some of them are seeing growth, but I would say a majority of them are not seeing growth. They're seeing a plateau, and sometimes they're even seeing a decrease in year-over-year comparisons of sales of this event compared to 2023. What we have received is overall, from a platform perspective, there is a 5% growth that apply to all categories. But Pattern, we were doing our post-mortem kind of type of analysis of our own performance, we're seeing average a 31% year-over-year growth for the 618 sales period. We have some brands sort of performing better than the others, and that can due to the market shift. It can due to sort of customers, the audience focus. But overall, from Pattern's perspective, the growth is we're outperforming the baseline the market has set. And we're seeing from this trend and just our overall year-over-year performance from January to May, the growth is still there. It's all about how we can really truly utilize data and understand, which marketplace makes sense for what product. We're running out of time, and I see quite a bit of questions coming in, so I'm gonna sort of skip the next slide. Next slide is basically talk about why a customer will choose us, what brand will choose us, and I think we touched on that quite a bit already. Is transparency, is really looking the market, thinking about cleaning up the price differences, and do the marketing more strategically. Does Douyin make sense? Is the money that you spend with the commissions that you're paying to the KOLs, does that make sense to continue Douyin, or do we want to use Douyin more, utilizing it as a platform for brand awareness, right? And see that conversion on Douyin, but transition that onto Tmall. That's something that Pattern is really, really good at. Killer Code, for example, within 1 year of partnership with them, we brought them up as the top one lead in that category. So if you search a scar gel on Tmall, you will see Killer Code, and that's not only through optimizing that search, that in-channel advertising, but also just continuous investment in that marketing, that brand message, and our connections with the platform. The next slide, I talk about just amount of brands that we represent. Vitamins is something that we're super passionate about, and we have a lot of expertise in. But we also have brand partners that are in beauty, that are in apparel. So we welcome any questions or any directions that your brand want to take in China. Yeah, and this we're running out of time. We have 3 more minutes, and I do want to get to the questions really quick. So I'm going to read this through. Jackie, feel free to chime in. The first question we have is, how long does it take to do the proper seeding to gain brand relevancy to gain customer trust? What is the budget recommendation, and what channel are best?
You want to take that one, or like, we can just quickly, simply talk about this? Because I think
Jackie, go ahead. Yes.
we got this question a lot, not just only from this Q&A, but in every single one of our touch bases with the brands, we all end up like, how much we have to spend, how much is enough, right? And then I think just like Nancy mentioned it, saying that it takes time, right? So the proper seeding to gain brand relevancy, we would say you almost need to probably, this is a nonstop practice, right? But if we're talking about from an activation time toward to where you can start seeing a little bit of the incubation, you got to give it at least 6 months to 1 year to really seeding right, instead of chasing for just one shots of a revenue, from this one personal shoppers or, smugglers or travelers. But you actually also want to basically finding the right KOCs that in that kind of industry, that also answering some of the other questions is like, oh, why is the Dr. Lab coding deceiving, and then why how you can be able to find a brand trust and brand authenticities before you actually have that kind of a brand awareness, right? So it is actually it's a very niche touching point that you want to make sure the KOCs that are professional enough and how they want to dress, right? How they want to perform themselves in front of the camera, that's out of our control. That's basically just like how you want to dress yourself showing up every day. But they are professionals. Their proficiencies is that not only because of their ecosystem and their occupations or who they are, but the people around them and who follow them are very have the certain depth of the trust, and relationship with kind of the KOCs and KOLs. That's why they're following their advices, seeking for their advisories, and even having the Q&A during the live streaming, just like what we're doing right now. And this type of the seeding has to be continuously running, because you don't know who is watching the live streaming or who is reading the post in the daily basis. It may be targeting to the tier 1 cities today. It may be ranking to the tier 2 cities today. And in China, we're talking about 1.4 billion populations. So, like 98% of them all have the mobile phones, but it takes time for that kind of a seeding to be really endorsed and then to the right of the activations. And Nancy, you want to talk about like the budget recommendations?
Right. So I think budget, it depends on what kind of scale you want to achieve. It will be quite difficult for a partner like us to say, oh, you spend maybe 30% of your GMV or your revenue for this type of program, then you can see what kind of return. It really depends on brand's expectation and the category you're in. But what we recommend is, because I think most of you are probably already having some success in some other region, whether that's the US or other APAC market. Don't forget about those assets. Whatever you create in the US or in APAC in general, those can be your first sort of almost cheaper investments to go into China to go with those assets. And what you want to do is partner with someone that understands the local market and really localize those assets. And creating new content just for a market can be very expensive, but utilizing what you already have and then compare with different type of promotions and marketing angles, that will make the seeding, sort of the timeline of the seeding to see a result much faster. I want to move on to the next question is so China consumers build their purchase on brand relevancy, trust, and authenticity. And how do you build that trust, authenticity, and relevancy for a new brand to market that to market that has little sales and reviews on the platform? Thanks. This is really good question, because as Chinese myself, I will consider myself a very smart shopper. Unlike, some shoppers go to Amazon, they type in the product and they just look at the review and that's the first thing they purchase. Chinese people is all about comparing, educating themselves, truly understand the brand positioning and before they make a purchase. So how do you combat that? And I would say for any new brand to go into China, you want to do first line of defense is you want to understand what's your presence in China as of now, because we actually see some brands who might not think they have enough notice in China actually have great search, or they have great search but they just don't have content to back it up, or maybe they don't have great search, or their search come back with messages or information that doesn't really represent their brand. So it's important. Sorry, I'm getting kicked out of this room, so I just want to answer this. Yes, it is hard in the beginning, but there is a process and there is a strategy to truly build a brand up, but not from ground zero in a market like China, because Chinese shoppers, they're smart, they get foreign information very fast, and we just want to build momentum based on what is already existing there and come up with a strategy to amplify that, that existing impression. Yeah, we're so thankful for all you guys for joining today's webinar. Has been great, and we see a lot of brands having more questions we just didn't have the time to answer. But Jackie and I will reach out to you individually, and then we can set up follow-up meetings to chat from there. But at the same time, you can add us on LinkedIn. You will have our contact information from the webinar, and excited for what's to come, and hopefully everyone will have a great Singles' Day sale for November, based on the learnings that you gather from the June 18th event. So thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.